Hi, this video that you're about to witness and look at will be the most shocking material or information that you've ever heard in probably the last 2,000 years. I'm talking about the second coming, or what I've come up with on a new world order. I'm going to explain a few things about me and where I come from and how this is a relationship of the new world order that's been written about in Revelations, Daniel, and in the Bible, about what is to be addressed for the future as God carries out his plan for the world. I'll sit there and let you know. I sat there and it's been happening for about 15 years now, since I've known about this. March 5th of 2006, I sat there and I turned to the Bible to reference. I was asking it questions. It was answering to me as if I was carrying on a conversation with it. After I put the Bible down, something inside me felt like I had to start establishing a new world order. I started writing on a new world order 15 years ago. I did basically the leadership part of it, and I've been working on the other part of it during the meantime. But that all happened within about the first 2 weeks. And a month later, after I had started writing up the New World Order, I saw God's one and only holy city, or at least I believe it was. It was a vision that I saw for about 7 to 10 seconds. It sat there and let me see something that was amazing. It was beautiful. And I figured I had to be looking at God's city. It was full of crystals. That was on the 5th of April of 2006. I sat there on the 24th of April. I started having visions of asteroid strikes and different things hitting this earth. I felt like damnation was coming about. I didn't know what to do. I sat there and became mentally disabled because of what I saw. They said that's not possible and that I can't be the Messiah, even though I was preaching it back then, that this is happening and I don't know why. That scared me for about 2 years. I sat there and was dormant for about 7 years. I didn't do much. I was scared. I was wondering. I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't know how to really handle this situation, but I knew I had started something with the New World Order. And I continued to pick that up, and I believed. And I started believing signs around me in the music, in the people, and everyday society, what was coming about. And it was telling me different things about what I had to do and different things to address at times within reason. I sat there and I had these visions, and I didn't like them, but I have overcome it, and I had sat there and it came up with a working world policy today. I had a computer download on the 13th of January 2014 at about 1:45 in the morning. At least it felt like a computer download, because it's like I knew what the New World Order was going to be like at that time. It came to me in a dream. I was amazed. I sat there and completed it last year. What I want to do now, I'll let you know that I'm going to get in a little bit, letting you know that I got 7 kids. I got 6 boys and a girl. My firstborn boy was from another woman other than my wife. I've got 6 kids with my wife. And just to let you know that there was 2 women in my life, in me, and the 7 kids. That'll relate later as I tell you more about what is to come about in the New World Order. I will sit there and explain or start with what would make you believe, or how would you know when the Messiah is supposed to arrive, and what would his age be? Well, I kind of found it in the Bible that it speaks of that. And I'll read of it to let you see where it come from. It's called the year of the Jubilee. Count off 7 Sabbaths years. Count off 7 times 7 years. The 7 Sabbaths of years add up to a total of 49 years. 49 years. That's the Sabbath. I turned 49 last year. I'm 50 now. Let me continue with this. From Leviticus 25, verse 8 through 10. The 10th day of the Sabbath month is the day when sin is paid for. On that day, blow your trumpet all through your land. Then it says, set the 50th year apart. Announce freedom all over the land to everyone who lives there. The 50th year will be your year of Jubilee for you. Each of you must return to your own family's property, and each of you must return to your own tribe. It says right there in the Bible, Jubilee year. I'm 50. I came up with the New World Order. After you see this video, you'll be amazed and shocked to believe everything that I speak of is true, and it's happening as we are here today, living on this earth. I will go into next talking a little bit into Daniel about Jesus Christ, or what is said to be coming at the end of days, or what's expected. So I'll read from Daniel 7:13 through 14. In my vision, I saw the one who looked like a son of man. He was coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the eternal God. He was led right up to him, and he was given authority, glory, and the kingdom. People from every nation and language worship him. His authority will last forever. It will not pass away. His kingdom will never be destroyed. It says, Jesus, when he comes forward, he is going to make greatness, and his kingdom will never be destroyed. How will a kingdom never be destroyed? My working order will show that. He was led up to the eternal God. I seen God's one and only holy city. I was led up to him, and I seen that. And nobody's supposed to see that except for the chosen one that is supposed to come from heaven to be the leader of Jesus, is the only one. And let's go into what's at the end of times for Daniel. And it says the time of the end. It says, at that time, Michael will appear. He is the great leader of the angels who guards their people. There will be a time of terrible suffering. Things will be worse than any time since nations began. But at that time of suffering, your people will be saved. Their names are written in the book of life. A huge numbers of people who lie dead in their graves will wake up. Some will rise up to life that will never end. Others will rise to shame that will never end. Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the sky. Those who lead many others to do what is right will be like the stars forever and ever. But I want you to roll up the scroll, Daniel. Seal it until the time of the end. Many people will go here and there to increase their knowledge. Then I looked up and saw 2 other angels. One was on the side of the Tigris River, and one was on the other side. The man who was dressed in linen was above the waters of the river. The one of the angels said to him, "How long will it be before these amazing things come true?" The man raised both hands towards heaven. I heard him take an oath in the name of the one who lives forever. He answered me, 3.5 years. That tells you, once I'm in power, it takes 3.5 years. Then the power of the holy people will be broken at last, and all those things will come true. I heard what he said, but I didn't understand, so I asked, my master, what will come of all this? He answered, go on your way, Daniel. The scroll is rolled up. It is sealed until the time of the end. Many people may be made pure in fire. They will be made spotless. But sinless people will continue to be evil. Not a one sinful person will understand, but those who are wise will. The daily sacrifices will be stopped, and the hated thing that destroys will be set up. And I'll stop right there again. The hated thing that destroys will be set up. The people will come together on this new world order that I come up with. This is the hated thing, because this new world order hates evil and it destroys of it, and it'll be set up. So it's for the people. After that, there will be 1,290 days. Blessed are those who wait for the 1,335th day and reach the end of them. Daniel, go on your way until the end. Your body will rest in the grave. Then at the end of days, you will rise from the dead, and you will receive what God has appointed for you. Well, that was of Daniel. And as you can see, Jesus is coming, and he's going to bring greatness. It talks of it, and it talks of it all over the Bible. But now I want to go into something a little bit more scary. We're talking Revelations. Revelations is a very hard version of the Bible to understand and really make full sense of. Basically, they say it's written in tongues, or they don't understand. It's written in such a horrifying way that makes you scared to even think about reading it. But if you know what you're looking for and what is said within it, and it happens to reach out to me and I can explain it. And I will go in to explain the dragon and the beast out of the sea, the beast out of the earth, the woman and the beast, and the horse and the rider, or the white horse and the rider. I'm going to go through and explain some of this through Revelations and just let you have an understanding of where this is coming from and how I say this revolves as where we're at in the world. The woman and the dragon. A great and miraculous sign appeared in heaven. It was a woman wearing the sun-like clothes. The moon was under her feet. On her head she wore a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant. She cried out in pain because she was about to have a baby. Then another sign appeared in heaven. It was a huge red dragon. I'll stop right there for a second. In heaven, a huge red dragon. Dragon is talked about later on in Revelations as being Satan. But in heaven there was a dragon. So let's kind of keep that in mind. He had 7 heads and 10 horns. That's another thing. The 7 kids I got, the 2 women I was with, and myself makes 10 horns. The dragon's on his 7 heads wore 7 crowns. His tail swept 1/3 of the stars out of the sky. It was threw them down to earth. Now, my tail, when I was seeing these visions, when all this happened to me, I was telling them what's going to happen. My tale of telling what's coming about made it as 1/3 of the stars. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to have a baby. He wanted to eat her child the moment it was born. She gave birth to a son. He will rule the nations with an iron rod. Her child was taken up to God and up to his throne. Once again, I've seen God's holy city. I'll go into the beast out of the sea from Revelations 13. I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads. There were 10 crowns on his horns. Each head was an evil name that was displeasing to God. The beast I saw, well, let me stop there. Now realize, there was an evil name that was displeasing to God. It doesn't say there was a name that was good to God, that he liked. But that's because everybody has got good and evil in them. So I'll continue. The beast I saw looked like a leopard, but he had feet like a bear and mouth like a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power, his throne, and great authority. One of the beast's heads seemed to have had a deadly wound, but the wound had been healed. The whole world was amazed and followed the beast. To let you know, my middle child, at the age of 1, had head surgery. Left a scar on the side of his head about 6 inches long. It looks like a deadly wound, but he healed fine and he's doing great. He healed up great. God saved me. It was a miraculous moment. It was great. But that's fits the shoes a little better as far as saying the 7 heads with 1 with a scar or a deadly wound and the 10 horns. But I'll continue. The people worshiped the dragon because he had given, wait a second. Yeah, the people have worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. They also worshiped the beast. They asked, who is like the beast? Who can make war against him? The beast was given a mouth to brag and speak evil things against God. The beast was allowed to use his authority for 42 months. It shows right there the beast, my new world order. Jesus coming forward is going to be empowered to establish the new world order for 3.5 years or 42 months it'll take. He opened his mouth to speak evil things against God. He told lies about God's character and about the places where God lives and about those who live in heaven with him. Some of the stuff that I wrote about is what I believe about God. I can't necessarily say that is the fact. I'm not actually, I receive information, but I'm only human. I can only accept so much to tell you of what I believe and know. This will allow, he was allowed to make war against God's people and overcome them. He was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All who live on earth whose names have not been written in the book of life will worship the beast. The book of life belongs to the Lamb whose death was planned before the world was created. Now, realize the Lamb before the world was created. This is the time of passing. This is of the new world. This is saying the Lamb being me, being the second Jesus Christ coming back, will be followed and it will pass. But the new leadership of this new world order, or my name, Scott Leroy Challey, will carry on and will be for the people to know, to address for the new leadership of saying he is going to be the one spoken of. Jesus will never be forgotten, but my name will carry on because of what I'm doing. Everyone who has ears should listen. Everyone who is supposed to be captured will be captured. Everyone is supposed to be killed with the sword will be killed with the sword. So all God's people must be patient and faithful. Now just to let you know, this is the beast out of the sea. This is the first beast. The first beast is me. This talks about me and my family, and it talks about me coming forward as the beast. The second beast is the New World Order that I came up with, or what's called ACE Services, American Constitution of Economics for the World. The second beast is what is hated will take and get rid of hateful things and make greatness and peace in this world. And this is how it is explained through the Bible. The beast of the earth. Then I saw another beast. This one came out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. He had the authority of the first beast. He did what the beast wanted. He made the earth and all who live in it worship the first beast. The first beast was the one whose deadly wound had been healed. The second beast did great and miraculous signs. He even made fire come from heaven. It came down to earth where everyone could see it. He did signs the first beast wanted him to do in the way that the second beast tricked those who lived on earth. He ordered them to set up a statue to honor the first beast. The first beast was the one who had been wounded by the sword and still lived. The second beast was allowed to give breath to the statue so it could speak. He was allowed to kill all who refused to worship the statue. He also forced everyone to receive the mark on their right hand or forehead. People great or small, rich or poor, free or slave had to receive the mark. They could not buy or sell anything unless they had the mark. The mark is the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now understand, this ACE services for the world. Everybody will have a number. That is part of the mark of the beast. The beast will be known to everyone through either a chip in the hand and or a picture of a forehead ID on a face of a card in order to purchase or do anything in life. These numbers will be carried with you. That is the mark of the beast. Here is a problem that you have to be wise to figure out. If you can, figure out what the beast number means. It is man's number. His number is 666. This was in part of the equation of figuring out when the timing of the New World Order was going to come about and when timing was going to come into play. The 666 is, I figured out, is part of a whole number in the calculating of the end of times. It is of the beast number. It relates back to me in my day I was born when you do it in reverse calculations. So it's kind of unique or interesting, but it does speak of the number, and that is how it is formulated. So, well, that kind of talks to you about revelations in the beast. It's not really, the beast seems horrible, but if you don't know what it means, you assume it's got to be evil, but it's not. It's of goodness. I'll read more. I'll read the woman in the beast. And this is, I'll just go from a segment of it. Revelation 17-15. Then the angel spoke to me. You saw the waters, the prostitute sit, or you saw the waters the prostitute sits on, he said. They stand for all the nations of the world, no matter what their race or language is. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute. They will destroy her and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and burn her with fire. The New World Order will take out the old world, the beast or the prostitute, the old world of living, of evil ways, of evil things happening. The New World Order will be in harmony of saying peace is coming. It will eliminate evilness. God has put you into their heart. God has put into their hearts to carry out his purpose. So they agreed to give the beast their power to rule. They will give him the power until God's word comes true. It says right there that the people will follow my order that I came up with. They will stand true until God says, you will receive what is given at the end of days, which is greatness. I'll go into, that was the woman and the beast. You pretty much know the woman is the prostitute of the world, and the beast destroys it. The beast eats it up. We'll go, this one's a little scary to really explain it, but I'll go into it and I'll explain. This talks about Jesus now coming and saving the world. But there's a negative part to the part 2 of it that I'll try to explain. The rider on the white horse. I saw heaven standing open. There in front of me was a white horse. Its rider was called Faithful and True. When he judges or makes war, he is always fair. His eyes are like blazing fire. On his head are many crowns. A name is written on him that he only knows. He is dressed in a robe dripped in blood. His name is the Word of God. The armies of heaven followed him, riding on white horses. They were dressed fine linen, white and clean. Out of the rider's mouth comes a sharp sword. He will strike down the nations with it. He will rule them with an iron rod. He stomps on the grapes of God's winepress. The winepress stands for God's terrible anger of God who rules over all. Now, God's winepress, the hateful things in life. You can see that he's gonna make things right. But anyhow, it says, here is the name that is written on the rider's robe or on his thigh. The greatest king of all, and the most powerful Lord of all. I saw an angel standing in the sun. He cried in a loud voice to all the birds flying high in the air, come, gather together for the great supper of God. Come and eat the dead bodies, the kings, the generals, and other mighty people. Eat the bodies of the horses and their riders. Eat the bodies of all the people, free, slave, great, and small. Then I saw the beast and the kings of the earth with their armies. They had gathered together to make war against the rider on the horse and his armies. Remember, the rider on the horse is Jesus or me. But the beast is the new world order that I put up with, or came up with, and the armies saying the generals and kings of the world are maybe going to try and pose something, but I stop it. But the beast and the false prophet were captured. The false prophet had done miraculous signs for the beast in the way that the false prophet had tricked those who had received the mark of the beast and had worshipped the statue. The beast and the false prophet were thrown into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. The rest of them were killed with the sword that came out of the rider's mouth. All the birds stuffed themselves with the dead bodies. So you're looking at, they're basically saying the beast is put aside. It's thrown in the flames or thrown in the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. And so did the false prophet. It didn't say it killed them. It said it was thrown in. There was a lot of heat given. They threw them because they didn't know what to do, or they challenged them. But the rider on the white horse, Jesus, saves them and says this is the way it's going to be. So I'll go in to it. The next part, it says the 1,000 years. It's Revelations 20. I saw an angel coming down out of heaven. He had a key to the abyss. In his hand he held a heavy chain. He grabbed the dragon, that old serpent, the serpent also called the devil or Satan. The angel put him in chains for 1,000 years. Then he threw him into the abyss. He locked and sealed him in. This was to keep Satan from fooling the nations anymore until 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be set free for a short time. So that says with the New World Policy, after 3.5 years, after it's established for the people, that the evil and Satan ain't going to exist for 1,000 years. It's going to be peace on this earth. So believe in what I came up with and have trust. And the last one I'll cover from Revelations, the New Jerusalem. He who was sitting on the throne said, I am making everything new. And that's God saying, I'm making everything new. He says that. My new world order is making everything new. Then he said, write this down. You can trust these words. They are true. He said to me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. I am the beginning and the end. Anyone who is thirsty may drink from the spring of water of life. And doesn't cost anything. Anyone who overcomes will receive all this from me. I will be his God and he will be my child. And that pretty much states from what is written there in the Bible. And that kind of gives you an understanding. Revelations, realize, is scary and it's hard to really interpret it. But believe me, with what happened, with me saying what I've come up with, I've written 5 books. There's 2 that I would like you to be interested in purchasing to find out more about me. It speaks all about the New World Order. It talks all about me, the Scott Challey Believes book of mine, which you'll see at the end of the credits of the film when you see it. And you'll also be able to go to my website and purchase it, or Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And then there's another book called The Beepin Brothers Road to Success. That's basically taken a consideration of allowing you to have a comedy, a book, a story, and a way the New World Order could be established. It is not the way it's going to come about. But that's something that will show all the listing of what the New World Order is about and how it will be functioning and ran. I've advertised this video a couple times without the credits of this video I'm adding to the beginning. But people believe, some people believe this is socialism, and some people believe this is communism, the New World Order established, which I'm saying it is not. The only controlling part of the New World Order would be controlling prices on 5 major categories: food, auto, insurance, utilities, and housing, for a general aspect of the population of the market. Hi, I'm Scott Challey. I'm an author. I've got 5 books written. I'm working on a 6th. It's not that I'm telling you about my books today. I'm talking about a new world order I had established or want to establish for the world. What it consists of is a new way of living that we can enjoy here in this world. Now, when I say what would make it better for the world, I would say, for instance, less poverty, different work hours, schedules, people that can live on their own, people off the streets that are living in the gutters, people around the world that are suffering. And when you look at falling nations or nations that are struggling, this new world order could allow people to live in standards of like queens and kings. And the reason why I say this is because a king and a queen doesn't need to work. They sit there and they get paid by their kingdom. In this case, the new world order that I speak of will be basically the same. Everybody would get paid. I take that on a basis of a small community of about 3,500 people, to where that when they get paid, they'll get paid $20,000 a year in a small community. Now, for instance, if you were living in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, it may be $50,000 a year, depending on what it costs for living to survive in that area. The cost of living would be regulated worldwide through districts, counties, within regulations to sit there and meet the demands of the people. The thing about this New World Order is that everybody will get paid, and it also put in the situation where if you want to work the regulated jobs for full time in the future would be 6-hour days. If you choose to work 8, 10, or more, you would get paid extra money, but it is not a requirement. The thing about it is, if you can receive $20,000 a year for one person, and 2 people in a couple relationship, you'd be making $40,000 a year in a small community, or maybe in a big community like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. You may be making $50,000 for a couple, maybe making $100,000. Anything extra is just extra money for this New World Order. You say that will not work because you can't pay everybody money. The thing is that I say that it works is this would be a one world government. Africa, China, Middle East, England, or Europe, or wherever you're at in the world, we're all coming together. It'll be one United Nations. There won't be no discriminatory acts about people getting paid money if they don't deserve it or not, because everybody will deserve it. And the thing about it is, how this works is that everybody gets paid, but there will not be no federal, state, or local taxes. Now you're saying, now there's no money coming in. How will that work? Well, we're taking this out of nowhere. This is a one-time kitty that everybody draws from. The way it works, or the beautiful way that it works, if you control basically what your basic living expenses would be, that's what you got to control on the market. So you'd have to control your housing, about what it would get paid per month based on what you would make. You control your food, your new autos, your insurance, and your utilities. If there are other categories, it could be changed later on if it has a fluctuation that is unstable for the economy. The thing is, once you control the economy on a set price that they got to provide, that means the inflation will never climb. It would stay constant, and everybody would sit there and benefit. When I say, for instance, a gallon of milk may cost $4 at the grocery store. In a year, that gallon of milk, which is controlled by the government, cannot raise more than $4.40. That is 10% of the value of the product that it can be raised to per year. If the rate went up on the cost of living, the following year, people would get paid more to accept for the cost of living. The controlled areas or the branches that it funnels down through the 5, if it fluctuates more than 10%, they will be fined, and situations may occur. For instance, if a food store, which is the necessity, would happen to ignore the regulations, and for instance, if they were selling that $4 a gallon of milk for $6 or $8, they would be considered as a warning and fined to sit there and establish the proper rate for the people. If they do not comply after several attempts contacting them,
It would be taken over by the government to control the necessity of what needs to be done. Not saying that that'll happen, but there is procedures and placements that you got to follow through with to make this new world happen. This new world, if you imagine you can take schools and have everybody be entitled to schools. I figured at $25,000 a year per child that's graduating school to go to college, if they maintain a 2.0 or better in school or equivalency test that they can go to school on to establish a 2.0 rating or to qualify for college, they would be entitled to that up to 8 years. Now, that's just schooling. Let's say, for instance, medical. What about medical? We need medical. Everybody relies on medical. Medical will sit there and be paid for everybody. You see, the government has an unlimited amount of money. They can do anything they want to do with. You get all this money coming in, and you may save it. You may have extra. You may be worth millions, but you're still going to pay the same price for the milk within 10% or any other groceries that you buy. Your cars, new autos, would be priced to where they won't fluctuate more than 10% coming off the market or the assembly line every year. And when you look at used cars, they're not going to sell for more than new cars. And then the same way with housing. What would a one-bedroom house or an apartment cost to rent? Now, new houses may cost more, but if you set the rate at a used house to be $500 a month or $1,500 a month, it all depends on where you're located. That would be guaranteed every year within 10% of the rate that it could fluctuate within. Now, you're saying, would that be right to control that? You could. It's only affecting certain parts of the economy to allow the economy to work and function as a prosperous world. There is like medical. People can stay in their homes. There will be a percentage that it'll pay for all like prosthetic limbs and stuff like that, and emergency needs, bed care needs, whatever needs to be taken care of, the medical aspect, it'll be paid for. All prescriptions will be paid for, except for over-the-counter like cough drops, cough syrup, aspirin, flu medicine, stuff like that you wouldn't worry about. But that would be on the basics. And I suppose if you wanted to get that to the doctor, you could, because the government is looking out to take care of the people. The people is what we have on this earth. What would this do if this went into effect? One, there won't be poverty on the streets. That means crime is going to go away. There's still going to be some addicts and stuff like that may abuse the system, but there'll be support groups and help out there for them. In the future, the crime will be down. Places will be beautiful because everybody, when you're looking at Africa or China, they can build their roads up, their cities up through the government to establish a beautiful kingdom for them to live in. If they got unlimited money to establish a great world, we're using it, but we're using it through the government as an entity that is a powerful source to rely on that can give you luxuries in this life to live in. We can have the best schools, we can have the best roads, we can have the best parks. I also even thought of, for instance, what if in this new world we live in and we just, for instance, wanted to drive our car without paying any gas? The governments, which would be one government in the future, could establish all the oil fields into their control as the United Nations. And that United Nation government could sit there and allow everybody to have the access to fill up their car without having to pay $1 or nothing. Free gas for eternity until it runs out. And of course, like your ethanol, your biofuels will have to be provided in this economy as well to make the natural oils last longer. But the thing is, if you sit there and that's just one aspect, free fuel. Well, you're saying the gas stations will close up and they won't make no money. Well, what if you paid that gas station 10 cents a gallon? Well, they're making on 10 gallons, they're making $1. 20 gallons, $2, or whatever it costs them to maintain the purpose of them staying function, that'll get paid through the government. And the government can allow all kinds of things. One, we can do away with military, or we could sit there and have one united base set up around the world. For instance, in China, Russia, America, in Europe, and have generals from each of the countries and people, percentage-wise, to establish control of these military bases. Not saying that Americans run an American base, because American might have power to sit there and say, well, we want to do this, and that wouldn't be appropriate. But if you have an American base and it was ran by the Russians, well, the Russians are going to be out of control to say, we're not going to act on that because we're a united nation and we act as one. The only reason why we would need military to even be here is if there is a possible threat of alien invasions, which we don't know, and we don't think, or I don't think that's ever going to happen. But the thing is, I would say do away with the military within 5 years. And I would say that it would be peace in the world, never having to worry about going through another war. When things are decided, for instance, right now there's about 196 different countries. And out of the 196 different countries, I was thinking, taking them, combining the small countries that are really small and putting them into other countries, and they'll be part of that. They'll still have the name of their country, but it would be differently ran through the 3 countries or the 2 countries sitting together to be counting as one. There would be 150 countries and one person deciding the breaking vote on the United Nations to control the council to what comes in for what happens in the world to be favored or decided on through a committee. And it'll be controlled through the 150 countries or the representation of who would want to establish for the people of what wants to be done in the near future. Now, you're thinking, that's going to be controlling. But if America wanted to, say, increase their retirement spending for the government to make a better pension for a person to work, they could do that through the board. Now, if enough countries vote on it, it'll happen. But besides that point, I don't want to get you involved too far off to the left field. Let me think here. When you look at what this world could be like, it's amazing. We can live in peace, harmonically living with greatness. We can have everything. We can have a great system, a good school, good life, good parks. We don't have to work. We don't have to work. And the reason why I say that, everybody at 18 would start getting the money once they move out of the house. That's the legal age. That's where everything happens. That's when they're considered an adult. And the reason why I say at 18, that's a functional age when they're basically done with high school. They can sit there and work for 20 years. They can work part-time jobs. They can work full-time jobs. They can work 6 hours a day, or they can work 12 hours a day, whatever they choose. But the thing is, now how I got this broken down is that since the companies don't no longer have to pay any taxes in at the end of the year, and they don't have to provide no more medical insurance because the medical out there is paid for by the government. So they'll never have to, another company's going to prosper. But the companies, for instance, if a person makes $10 an hour and they pay in $3 an hour, that's 30% of their wages. Now, the person will take home $10 and $3 will go to the government. And in reverse time, or later on in time when they pull it out, it'll be like 30% of what you made for the last 20 years. So when you're 38, you'll receive a pension, whether you worked $1 worth or you worked $100,000 worth. It'll come out being paid to you monthly until you pass. Now, that is something that's great, and that would be great. There's two pensions that you can get. There's one from 18 to 38 and from 38 to 58. At 58, you can make two pensions. Instead of getting paid 30% on one pension, you'll get 30% on another pension, but you'll automatically receive that first pension at 38, and you'll still make the money that you make at your job. And then after 58, you'll be making 60% of your money to sit there and live off of. So you can buy extra cars, a really nice house. You can go out and eat on the town. You can go to sports events. You can live life fully. Now, not everybody's going to work, but I think more people want to work if they only had to work 6 hours a day. They would have a full day in front of them. Another thing, there is so much that when you look at this, it is so great. There's things I'm not covering, and I've got them in my books. The Beepin Brothers Road Success has got a good comical story in the beginning, a little explicit, but it's to be a realist. And another book of mine that talks about it real good is Scott Shelley Believes, and they're both good books. I would like to say I'm willing to lead this world forward, to take my new world order, to establish it for the people. I think the people will live in prosperity, greatness. They will be something that is superb. It was written in the Bible that this new thing that the Savior comes forward to bring to the people is going to make 1,000 years of peace. am I that person? Am I coming forward with this? I want you guys to make a decision. And if you feel what I have talked to you here today is okay or good or even great, pass it on to other people. Tell them where to go to find this. Tell them it's scottchalley.com or my Scott Challey, the author. I do have a website, and it's www.scottchalley.com. And there's other videos. There's some good videos, and there's about my books and about songs and just different things on my website.
Where I left off last time, I believe we were talking about chips. Everybody in the world will have a chip addressed to them, or there will be one number. There won't be nobody with the second number to hold the same chip. The reason why this chip or this identification of this chip, it will access basically 5 different areas, and it'll keep record on you. You're talking that, for instance, your medical. You go to the medical, a doctor, and they will later on put the records into your chip for you. That way, if you ever needed to go to another hospital or another doctor, any place in the world, your records will be established with you. You're talking far as criminal, it'll keep a record on you as far as speeding tickets or whatever you've done in the eyes of the law. You're talking far as employment. When you work a job, let me break this off a little bit. When you're working a job, in the future, the companies are going to pay towards your retirement. Companies got breaks on as far as not having to pay medical and taxes. But the bad thing about what they're going to have to take or basically assume the difference of is if a person works in a job in a factory or any place, and let's say they're making $10 an hour, that employee will pay the person $10 an hour, and $3 of the money, or 30%, will go to the government. So that person will be the employee will be paying $13 an hour for wages. Now, things will have to get adjusted eventually in the future in the years to come. It'll work out. But when they work that job, they'll work it from starting, let's say, 18 to 38, and then they'll be paid out of retirement or a pension for the last 20 years, which will be 30% of their entire entitlement of what they're entitled to. So when you look at that's for 20 years until the 38, and then there'll be another pension that'll be paid to them from 38 to 58. So when you're 58, you'll make 60% of your money that you have during your time on the earth, and you can enjoy yourself by sitting back and maybe not working no more and retiring. Now, the thing is, that'll keep record of everybody and what they're entitled to as they go along. And then, so I covered the medical office for records, law. We got employment records, but they also cover a budget of far as what they paid you every month to keep track of. There won't be no taxes filed at the end of the year. It's really not a point. It's a pointless system to keep track of. But at least you'll have an idea of what you've been making or what you do, just as a set stone to look back at. You would have also your there would be like a rations card, and I'll get into that later on, maybe in another day. But that'll be another file, and the last file added to that number or your card or that digital chip that you will receive either in the hand and or by picture ID with the chip, will be your banking credentials. Basically, that card or that chip, if you go to a machine and you go to swipe it, it'll pull up your credit card information. Now, realize this isn't going to break out all your files at the same time. There'll be like different machines or a programmable machine that will be accessible to each one of the categories that's assigned to your number. So when you do simple purchases, you will only have, let's say, one on your number, and that will identify you making a charge or a purchase. And these numbers, realize they're going to be cryptic, or you'll have one number and there'll be a cryptic number with it, for security reasons, for nobody to just pull up your number. And when you are dig up your information, and when you go to purchase or use it and access it at any location, whether it's for medical, law, or uh, uh, just whatever you access, you're going to have a 4-digit number. So it's just like a bank card now. So when you punch in that number and you program it, whether you want 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever you want for your number for your chip, will go with it to use in per se to say that it will allow you the access of your information. Now, when you look at that, that's I want to break down now basically how the world is going to operate. There's 150 members for the 150 countries that'll be established for each to count as a vote in the New World Order or the World Council. Realize there is 150 representatives, and there'll be one person that will hold the position for 151st. And these people, when they go to come together, there'll be rules that the people, are laws that people will want to instill to come forward and be decided on as if it's going to go and help out the economy. Now, these first 150 people will be voting for the people to make sure there isn't going to be no wrong or hardship, or they're going to look into the bill before it becomes a problem that you can't necessarily back out right away. They would have to sit there and research the bill that would be going into effect. And they would sit there and bring it in front of the committee in a council of the 150, and they'd vote on it and they'd discuss it. And when they discuss it, and if they voted on it for it to go for the people, so you see, let me break it back a little bit farther now. In this world order, there is suggestion boxes in every post office. And if there is 10 people in a county that wanted to change something, for instance, the time the clubs stay open at night, they will come together and submit that. Once 10 come together of the same situation that wants to be changed or addressed to the people, there will be what you call a service office at the county level to go ahead and make up the proper form for what the bill would be looked like, or what it would be established for the future. Now, that would turn around in 6 days when 10 people come together for it to be addressed for the A services offices to turn it into a law type setting. Then you got 30 days, which now realize, I'm kind of breaking this, twisting this in and out, but I think you're going to get the picture after it's done. The, the thing is, everybody's in a database, and it starts at your county level. It shows everybody that lives in that county. Then everybody that lives in the state is at another office, and everybody that lives in the federal is at another office, and everybody in the world, which all the countries are coming together as another office or another way of relating. And there's only members on the World Council. On federal, state, or local, it is all up to the people. The people, when they get that 10 votes, or 10 people came together that said they want to change something, that will take 6 days. And then it goes into what you call, or another 30 days. Now, realize everybody in the county or in the world will have access on their cell phone to the government sites. There'll be an A-Services site, and it'll be open to everyone in the world. That number will open up, and it'll identify with you to your site, to your phone, and it'll show the GPS. So you have to be in your county in order to vote. Not everybody in the world can vote on somebody else's county or so. So it'll be decided and directed between being encrypted and being a gyro to sit there and say you're on a certain location. And everybody will have access to these sites. You'll have county, state, federal, and world. And in the state site, for instance, well, let's go back to the county. We're in the county site. Now, they proposed this because 10 people came forward and they wanted to present it as a law. Well, it's got to run for 30 days. And it runs for 30 days to allow the people to either say yes, not no, just yes. I want to see that to come forward. So if there's 10% of the county that says yes to it, then the next 30 days, or after 10% has been accounted for, they can start the ruling for it to become a law. It'll take 30 days, and everybody at that time will have the right to say yes or no to whatever the opposed order or bill is to be suggested as. If it happened to go down to a 50-50 vote, not saying everybody in the county's got to vote, nobody does. You see, there's a timeline. When that 30 days is up, it'll give a countdown to the time. That's when the last vote can get in. And when it closes the timer, and if it happened to be a tie, that's only when this person, which is the decider of decisions from the World Council, will sit there and regulate and vote for that county that was put into play for the vote, for the law, or for the order, what they want to see. And he's only going to be a decider of decisions, the one for the world order. And it takes 10 votes or 10 people for a county. And that may change because there's counties out there that's got over 1 million people. And it may take, you might have 100 people or 1,000 people that might come forward. And it may be adjusted accordingly depending on what you feel is the needed amount of people to come forward before something is addressed. And for our state, I put down for 100 people deciding the same state vote. I looked at for federal or country, it'd be 1,000. And for world, it'll be 10,000. Realize once they got 10,000 people that came together and said they need to have something changed, or they'd like to see something changed in the world, that it will, when they like to see it changed in the world, that this will come in front of the committee, which will meet up every month for the UN, the United Nations, to meet up, for all the world to come together. Now, they may not meet in person every month. Maybe they'll have video cameras where they can activate from their country, where they don't have to travel. But these people are the main necessities to allow, yes, and great bills to come forward. They're only working for the people to make greatness. They're going to come forward to allow the people to see it can be great. And if something went into effect, now you figure for the World Council, it takes basically 90 days or 90 days for it to become a law or an order. Now, that could happen a couple times a year if, for instance, if something that they stuck into play and they see it didn't work right, they can change it in 90 days. Now, you know, with today's politicians and everything, it takes sometimes years for stuff to happen. You never really know what's going on. You're out of the media. You can try to follow them, but they do pretty much what they want. And laws you can't see. Well, with the information at your fingertips, always showing what new laws are going to come about, with government programming that's held at each office, each county is going to set up and make it right for the world. They're going to make it for where the people can see peace and freedom.